Dearest reader, is the spoken word not a remarkable thing for its barbed tongue and its whispered sweet nothings? Don't look at me, it's a voiceover, you're not supposed to see my face. But since you're here, let's ask a professional voiceover artist how it's done. Let me introduce my friend Leah. We talk about getting into the industry, the skills that it takes, and the pitfalls of a highly competitive field. What is voiceover and how is it different from voice acting?
Oh, yeah, okay. Voiceovers would be for advertising or narrations or, documentaries, or it's a narration. That would be a voiceover. Voice acting, I would say that's more in the lines of the animation and playing character.
So when you're doing voiceover work, do you ever do character voices or is it pretty much...
Well, see, that's an interesting thing because that's in your contract, whether it's a character voice and you get a character loading. And it's interesting because when I do whether it's for, carpet or shampoo or whatever, I generally will ask the client, like, well, what lady do you want? Because every lady is different. And so I feel like I'm actually adopting a character every time I do a voiceover. I've got my Australia Post lady, I've got my carpet, timber, laminate, vinyl choices flooring lady. So they're different. And then, you'll have your professional woman who's doing all of the really boring corporate, dry stuff. So they're all characters.
Are you primarily in advertising? Do you narrate documentaries?
I love doing docos. They're really great. But the work that comes through mostly for a voiceover artist is the advertising. Generally, the jobs that come to me, they'll say, we like your warm, friendly tone, the kind of conversational friend voice, and you just put your little hat on and sell stuff. In saying that, I've got my no-go zones, so I won't advertise anything to do with meat because I don't eat it, anything like gambling or horse racing or greyhound racing.
So even though your voice is disembodied, you're not actually appearing on screen, that's still important in terms of your association.
Yeah. I don't want to advertise something that I'm out of alignment with.
Yeah.
So I'm quite okay to promote, say, a dog pool or a gardening product. But if it was a snail killer, then probably not. I remember being in a radio station because you get booked for radio slots and you can do up to 5 or maybe 7 even commercials in 1 hour for different things. And you'd be doing all different voices within that hour. And there was a hotel or a restaurant or something. And in the end it was, and you can be served by ladies, I don't think I said topless, but ladies without tops or something. And I said, oh, excuse me.
Do I sign up for this?
Is this a topless bar? And they're like, yeah. I was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that because my voice is actually really recognisable from play school.
So how did you get started in voiceover? And do you remember your first job and how did it go?
You know what? My first job actually was when I was, I think I was 16 in Brisbane working at Telecom, which is now Telstra. And I used to do 013, which was a directory assistance. People would ring up for a number and I go, 013, what name, please? And that supervisors heard me on the phone and said, Leah, can you please do the voiceovers for the weather? We used to call up the phone company in those days, back in the 1930s, and you could find out what the weather of the day was. You probably still can. So I was in this little booth and I was, about 16, I think. And today, I wouldn't speak like that.
So would you record that or would you answer every call?
No, I'd record it.
Okay.
I did a recording. So that was my first voice recording from memory.
Oh,
so that was my first one. And then when I was at drama school, I needed to get income to, we know what it's like. It's not easy. I was babysitting for someone and her husband worked in advertising. And so I would go in and do voices there and it's like, this is really fun and it's really easy. And It really pays well. And so when I graduated, my agent said, well, it's a niche market and, it's a very sort of closed door industry, the voice industry. And you want to be an actor, not a voice artist. And in hindsight, they weren't wise words, because we know we have to do whatever we can to survive this industry.
So maybe I'll ask you, how important has voiceover been to continuity of work?
Critical.
To sustain you between
Absolutely
other acting jobs?
critical. Yeah. I mean, I discovered pretty early on, despite having a sort of regular kind of ish income as an actor, ish, but you never know when but I realized as soon as I graduated that this face was perfect for radio. That was like, okay, I now understand I've got a good face for radio, because you would not see this face in any advertising. So a lot of the other actors that graduated, if they weren't getting gigs on dramas or films or theatre gigs, at least they were getting ads. But, this was not happening when I graduated. Yeah. It was very rare. And so that was the catalyst to then investigate doing voice work, because I went, I need to survive. And also I knew I had a good voice, and I knew I liked playing with it, and because I started off as a singer in before drama school, and it's like, this is something I can have fun with.
Yeah. So what does the casting look like for voiceover? Is it a show reel? Is it in person, or does it depend on whether you're doing a campaign or a one-off read?
You're not really involved in the casting. Your agent has your demo.
Right.
So I guess you backstep to that, and in order for me to get a voice agent, because I have a different voice agent to an acting agent, and already I spoke to my agent yesterday, they get something like 30 to 40 people every week wanting to be on the books.
So it's very competitive.
Fully. I think since COVID as well. So you had to get your demo. I had to get a demo together. And then with my little demo, I was on foot going to all of the sound studios and saying, hi, I'm Leah. This is my demo. Would you please listen to it? I just thought you need to be face-to-face. People need to meet you, because voiceover, even though we're not, it's just our voices, it's very much about the relationship you have with the sound engineers and with the clients and with the creatives. It's all about how you work in a team in a really short space of time. So the casting, I'm not part of that really. Sometimes you'll put down what do you call it? Can't remember. I should know. I've been doing it
just longer. A scratch.
You do the audition. They might be trying out a few people for a particular campaign.
So do you have a show reel now? And is the show reel stuff you specially recorded just for the show reel, or existing?
No, it's you gather together all of your bits, and ideally as contrasting as possible. So from all the different kinds of voices and reads, from animation, kooky voices to dry documentary to, fun, I don't know, skincare.
So is it better to be versatile or have a niche as a voiceover artist?
I think the versatility is imperative for that. And because you won't have a sustained career if you can only do, although there's probably people out there who, like Morgan Freeman, he's okay. He can do that. He doesn't need to
He'll make it big one day.
Yeah. I don't think he needs to advertise carpet. But jobbing actor, you need to be able to modulate in as many different tones as possible, because you get asked in the job, you can be asked to swing from 0 to 1,000 in a second.
And if you come in for another ad with the same brand, do you have to listen to yourself, what you've previously done, so you know which lady you are?
Yeah, sometimes they'll say, do you want to hear her? And I usually call it her. Yes, let's have a listen to the lady. What did she? Oh, okay, I know what lady I am. But some I've been doing for, probably 10 years or something or more. And so I know exactly where that sits vocally for me and what kind of mindset I'm in for that lady.
So how do you prepare for a session? How do you either think through the text in advance? What do you do vocally, if anything?
Usually you get the script, sometimes half an hour before, or when you got, Well, there's two scenarios. You're either doing it at home in your own studio,
Right.
which is where I do the majority of my work now since COVID. Most people have their own studios. So the scripts get sent to you, and I usually look at them, I don't know, half an hour before, if I'm honest, because they might only be 5 lines. You know, you don't need to prepare. But if it's a documentary read, obviously you're going to read through that. So preparation for me is either a vocal warm-up in the car on the way to studio or in my little booth. We had, do you remember Nigel Ride Out, our voice, and the tarantella? Do you remember an inn, Miranda? Do you remember an inn and the tedding and the spreading and the straw for a bedding and the fleas that tease and the hybrid and ease and the wine that tasted of the tar? Did you do that?
I think we did, yes.
It was a good one. It was a good one. I've actually got the original me writing that from drama school in my, and I might be sitting there and I will stand there and I might do that, or a Popocatépetl copper-plated kettle, just getting that warmed up and have a nice warm hot water with some lemon juice and, you know, a bit of stretching and business just to warm myself up, because my voice, when I wake up, I don't know if she'll be there, but she naturally sits around. She's actually lower than that when I wake up, and generally most voiceovers aren't in that space. I used to say, and I still do actually, I don't like working before 10 because
she's not perky enough.
She's not awake. And I go, oh, can we say a bit lighter? Like, yeah.
So if you're recording in your booth, do you have other people live online giving you feedback? So who's normally in a session, whether it's in your booth or in a studio? Who's
the sound engineer who's at the studio. The sound engineer who's at the studio, and they are your everything. And they're almost like your guardian as well. They kind of look after you if they're good. Most of them are amazing people. So there's that person, and then it's usually through your if you're in your booth, headphones, you might have 5 or 6 other voices.
A producer, clients.
There might be more, 1 or 2 clients, and creatives there. And everybody's got an opinion. And it is a world. And sometimes I'm really glad that it's just coming through my, I'm hearing it through my ears rather than being in the room.
How personal does it get? Because I imagine time is kind of short. How blunt? Do they have any sense of compassion for you being put on the spot there? Or is it like, no, I hated that one, do it better?
It can be anything. I've had really rude people who are just straight up, oh, she's not doing it. No, she's not that. No, she doesn't sound good with that. And I was like, no. It's like, I'm here. Like, that's when you're in the room even.
Yeah.
Or you'll be looking through the glass in the room. They can be really dismissive, so much to the point where they are sitting there on the couch. This doesn't happen so much, but it did. They'll be looking through a magazine and then they'll go, do you want to hear that back? Oh, what? Sorry? Can she just do it again? It's like, whoa, wow. So, yeah, they can be really blunt. They can, like, some clients are just like, we trust you. We love what you do. I don't want to give you any direction. Just do it as you hear it, or, what happens quite a bit too. And is really challenging is when you get a line read and you've got someone who isn't creative, who's saying, can you say it like this? The grass is always greener on the other side. So, you've got a bit more excitement in your voice like that. I like that. And sometimes I'm a little bit cheeky and I will go, that's what they want. I say, okay, so I'll give you back what I heard. The grass is always greener on the other side. And no, that doesn't sound, I was like, okay, well, maybe if you let me have a play. But
so what kind of conversations do you have about finding the tone for an ad?
At the top, it might even be on the script, warm, friendly, conversational. And I will we'll have that conversation before I begin and say, what are you envisaging? What kind of sound or tone are you wanting? And then they'll give me, ideally, the right kind of descriptives for that.
Because the challenge, I guess, is when you've got a client, for instance, who doesn't normally work with voiceover people, they might not have the language to actually express
And they
what it
think,
is that
and
they
some of them think they do. And so it can be so confusing when they'll say, and this has happened, they'll say things like, oh, can you just, make it maybe just, she's sounding a bit screechy, or yeah, I just want her to sound warm and inviting, but not too serious, but you've got to have sense of authority with that and certainty, but pose a question at the end of it as well, because I don't want it to sound too, it's like, what the, and end up just going, yeah, sure.
Have there been many shifts in terms of style? Because in watching ads, I would say, and this might be misguided, that there's less of a place for the voice of authority these days. That the voices tend to be more inviting, rather than that white man who does the da-da-da-da.
That
And
kind
this
of voice.
way you will know that.
That's true, actually. I think
there seems to be a shift away from that. It's
Yeah.
more colloquial.
I think the colloquial thing is true. Like even things like chance, dance, those kind of, I naturally say dance, chance, but they'll say, oh, can you just sound a little bit more, say dance and chance? And even either. I say either, but then it's like, oh, no, you just sound a little bit, can you say either? I was like, yeah, I can. But it's not, they don't always speak like that either. But the voice, I think, is becoming more, less formal, maybe, depending on what the product is. I mean,
but probably financial services may be more formal, whereas a slip and slide is.
Yeah.
It's a different lady.
And, you can have NGOs that, I've actually said to some NGOs, like I won't say which one, but they use that voice. Here we have this child.
Earnest.
And it's like, can we please not? That's so not talking about, it just.
I wouldn't do that on Play School.
Exactly. It's like, can we just be real? It's.
So how do you deal with bad copy? Do you just have to read it? Do you ever get any input in saying, look, I think this might sound easier in the mouth, or do you just have to go with what's there?
It's such a good question, because it's not unusual to get a bad copy. I don't think people know how to write.
Because sometimes what works well on a page and would read beautifully in a magazine is not the way we speak. That's
right. Yeah. I mean, even me saying that's right in a copy, it might say that is right. And you go, can we just align some of the things, the words, so that we can just sound more? You're asking me for a conversational read. This isn't sounding like a conversation. It's sounding like an instruction manual. I wouldn't say that, but I'd say, can we make it a bit more friendly? And it's not uncommon to work on copy in the session, because also you've got to be in a time frame. So it's a 15-second or a 30-second commercial, and they want all this information plus a disclaimer. And, the disclaimer can be 3 lines long. It's like, well, clearly we're not going to get this into a 15-seconder. And what words can we take out? And often I will already have thought about that, but you always obviously wait and let the creatives think of it, or come up with it.
I imagine it must be a delicate balance, because you don't want to insult them any more than you want them to insult you.
You kind of, I'm the voice artist, so that's my role. And at the same time, I've been doing it a long time, and I know there's certain things that we can edit to make time. Like some people might go, we still, like even with a website, we don't say www. And so you might have a client who's new to this, and they put the WWs, and you go, if I can just offer, that's not commonly used, the WWs, or a slash, we can use, they might say /. And you go, we can lose 2 syllables here, which might save us actually half a second. Just go slash. Sometimes there's just incorrect usage of words and full stops or placements of ... dots. And
do you ever write your own punctuation on copy?
My script is it's like Jackson Pollock kind of. It's like, it really is. It's like kind of scribbles, and I'm all like, and they'll say, can you stress this word, and I'll be writing that word out really big. A lot of people work just from their iPads now. I can't. I need to have my underlining and my little squiggles and yeah.
And so what kind of skills are essential for a good voiceover artist?
Obviously vocal. Got to have a voice that you can manipulate and play with. I think it's important that you have a sense of playfulness and spontaneity and be able to read the room pretty quickly. It's kind of just taking in what the essence is that they are wanting in their message.
So how do you balance that idea of being articulate and clear, but without being rigid? Like when I think of a newsreader, for instance, they're articulate, but flat and emotionless.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that clarity with liveliness?
I think the warm-up helps, doesn't it? The poppicatter pedals and the copper plating. To be able to have that clarity in your voice and the way that you...
Without it sounding like effort.
Yeah. And then, you do your other... and I shake out and, and sometimes I'll just say, I need a second, and I might do a bit of a shake in the session because you're in one little small space as well. So, yeah, for flow, I physicalize it, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
So how important is physicality in a read?
It's big for me. Like I use my hands more in voiceover. So I might even, if I was saying a sentence, she climbed all the way to the top of the mountain. In real life, I wouldn't be using my hands so much. But if I'm like, she climbed all the way to the top of the mountain, like I'll be using my hands and being mindful of, I can't hit the mic. Sometimes I get a little bit too excited. Some of the things that are happening now with recording in your own home is they'll do a Zoom or and I was like, turning my camera off.
You don't need to see this.
You do not need to see a profile of me going,
it's a process.
And especially when you're doing animation, it's so animated. It's like you're almost painting the character with your body in your hands. It's really physical.
And especially in animation, if it's not in the voice and the physicality gives you that animation, then the animation of the characters it doesn't work.
Yeah, no. Like if you could have a little critter that's jumping up and down. You are jumping up and down. You're actually doing it. It's so fun and so exhausting at the end of the day after doing animation records. But there's a lot more than just the teeth, the lips, and the tongue.
In an industry that's very competitive, why do you think you keep getting work?
I think I'm quite fun to work with. I think I'm quite playful and spontaneous, and my voice can do a bunch of stuff. But I also think I have, this sounds like a job interview, but I think I'm quite astute at being able to interpret what they want and giving it to them in a, because it's an economy of time, really. We've only got an hour to do any given voice session. So you have to be quite quick, quite clever, and quite robust in the sense of not taking things personally when someone is giving you feedback.
So how do you maintain the voice? Is there anything you will or will not do vocally?
Maintaining the voice. I think I'm a bad example of that because I stay up late. I don't sing every day. I think or do scales every day. It's hard. I try not to have a coffee before a voice over because oat milk even can make you a little bit on the tongue. Those kind of things. Dairy when I did have dairy, that was a definite no. You could always hear it. But also you need to have something. I know it's not maintaining the voice, but before a recording, you kind of you actually need to eat something because the grumblings come through the microphone. So that kind of thing. But maintaining, I don't think I'll be writing how to maintain a vocal. No, that's not going to happen.
What do you think you should be doing? In an ideal world, what should you be doing?
I don't know, actually, because I was going to say people have very gravelly voices and they're booked because of that. So you're not necessarily being booked for a velvety voice sometimes. Maybe they want something a little bit more scratchy. So
there are a couple of older, when I say older, mature women doing voiceovers, and often they're a little bit arch and they're a little bit smoked out as well.
yeah, there you are.
They're defined by the unique sound.
Actually, yes, I've just remembered something. I'm really conscious when someone's sick. If a friend says, "Oh, I've got a little bit of a tickle," and I'm going to have coffee with them or something, I think most of the people I know don't take it personally. I can't actually afford that. Literally cannot afford it.
Yeah.
I cannot afford to get a sore throat because apart
It's a moneymaker.
It's, what are we called? It's our paycheck.
Yeah.
It is our paycheck. I remember having a quibble with somebody back in the day where there were smoky pubs. And it was like, I can't go there. That's just going to wreck it. And I'm going to sound really different tomorrow. And the thing is too, that if, say, I'm the voice for the teapot, I might do a recording for the teapot one day, on a Wednesday, and then the Thursday they'll say, we have to do a pickup because that line we have to change. And you have to be identical to that voice that you were the previous day. So that sense of maintenance is, really important to your livelihood.
Watch out for our next video where we record a voiceover together with an unexpected twist. In the meantime, please show Leah some love in the comments. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I do love you. Now get out there. Be brilliant.